container been unloaded from the ship to the port, to the berth, to the wharf, the container will be stored there. That's why they have some free days for the importers to take the container from the port. If the container have problem, if the importers have problem in taking the container or clearing the container at the port authority will charge penalty because you consume space, storage space at the port. That one is one thing different. This one is talking about demurrage and detention on a container based on a carrier. You must understand first that most containers being engaged or being supplied by the liners, right? Some company they bought their own carrier, their own containers, but most of you, like for example, for using liner, common carrier, they rely the container on the container supply on the liners on the line itself, the carrier itself. Liners ni carrier lah. Liner ataupun line, dia panggil line, terminologi for maritime lah. Line ni carrier lah. Right, so most of the common carrier like liners, the owner of the cargo or the shippers rely containers supplied by the liner, right? So the container is owned by the liner. They use it. That's why they are very particular on detention and demurrage. Demurrage relates to cargo while the cargo is in the container. That is demurrage. Full container equal to demurrage. Detention relates to equipment while the container is empty after unpacking or before packing. So empty container equals to detention. Now you understand? Demurrage is full container load. This detention is zero, empty container, no load. Empty because of unpacking activities or because of before packing. Okay? How it works? Import scenario. Ni importing scenario. A container is discharged off a ship on the 2nd July. A container is being unloaded from a ship on the 2nd July. Consignee, the importers, approaches the shipping line to take delivery of the cargo around 12th July. Right? Container been unloaded from the ship to the port 2nd July. This is full container, because importing. You import the container, meaning that the container is full load with cargo. And the consignee importers go to the port and settle the container on the 12th July. How many days? 10 days. But the free period is a standard 7 free days from date of discharge. Tapi grace period dia yang free ni 7 days. You must clear the cargo in 7 days. More than that, you got penalty. So the 9 free days expires on the 8th July. So the line will charge the consignee, the importer, demurrage for 4 days, from 9th to 12th July, at the rate fixed by them. That's why before you use any service of the carrier, of the line, you need to know all these things. The demurrage, how they interpret the demurrage, how they interpret the detentions, what is the rate. Will be different line, different rates. But the discrepancies of the differences is not much lah. It's around that range lah. But there are different rates lah. Okay. Many shippers or consignor suffer losses at this stage. Why? Because the delay in clearing the cargoes at the port. This is for importing side. Importing scenario for demurrage. Now you understand, It's the clear cut. The cargo been unloaded, discharged from the ship 2nd July at the port, and then the cargo is at the port. Usually the port 3 days and the line 3 days overlapping, lebih kurang, overlapping. So masih lebih kurang. So once you take the cargo from the port later than 7 free days, you need to be charged a penalty. They call it demurrage. And this penalty, you must pay the carrier, the line. Right? And also, if you exceed the port 3 days, you must pay the port authority also, because you incur storage there. So, how complex is the situation, right? After a full container has been picked up by the client, they take another 7 free days to return the empty container to the port or to the depot that have been stated by the line. If they exceed the free 7 days, then they will be charged detention at rate fixed by the line. The demurrage rate is different than detention rate. Okay? So, nampak tak? The imported scenario. Consignee import cargo from consignor. Once the cargo, the container that you imported from the consignor reach the port near you, and the ship, the carrier, the lines unloaded the cargo, the container from the ship to the port, and you must clear the container at the port in 7 days' time. If because of certain circumstances, you can't able to clear the container on time in 7 days' time, you exceed the 7 days' time, you'll be charged demurrage. Per how many days you exceed from the 3 days, right? So the demurrage paid to the line. And if you add the days also overlapping or seems to exceed the port 3 days, you need to pay the port authorities also. Sebagai sebagai menggunakan space because you have used a storage space at the port. You see in the port pictures, there are many containers stacking at the port, right? That one is the stack is temporarily for them to clear, for the importers to clear the container from the port. If the container cannot clear during the 3 days time provided by the port and by the ship, then the importers will be charged detention and demurrage. But for detentions, once you clear up the container from the port, you go back to your factory or your own warehouse. You unpacking all the cargoes from the container, and the container is empty. And once the container is empty, you need to return back the container at the stated point by the line. The line will inform you. You should return the container at the port ke, ataupun at the depot ke, at the certain yard ke. You must stand by usually 7 free days time. If you exceed, you send the empty container late to the stated point of stated point mentioned by the lines, you will be charged detention based on how many days that you exceed the 3 days. Right? So that is detention and demurrage from the import perspective. Okay? Understand or not? Any question? Any question? Good, no question. Any question you can ask, no problem.
Doctor, how about for the export? Is the same?
I will explain for the export. Wait. But for the import, you clear?
Yes, clear, doctor.
But you must bear in mind, there are port of charges also, because you use the space, the cargo space used at the port, to put your container. If you exceed also the port 3 days, you'll be charged also for the using the space. That one is a charge, not penalty. That is charge. Penalty macam denda lah lewat. Yang ni charge because you pakai space at the port. You use the space at the port for your container. Right. Right. So they give free space for 3 days, for 7 days. But you exceed 7 days, the space will be charged. Okay. That's why, just imagine, this is, I want to relate with the situation now. Right. That's why, the situation now for supply chain, disruption occurs because congestions at the port. See, congestion at the port. This is due to lockdowns, initiated by lockdowns, right? When the port lockdowns, so the cargo at the port is not being cleared totally. The port is still full of containers, but the lockdown must start. No matter what, they must start the lockdown. So what happened to the cargo at the port? Not being cleared yet by the importers. What happened to this can, what they call it, can cancel the charges because of the lockdown. The port are closed, cannot take the cargo. But the liner, you must pay. That's a problem. That's why freight costs going high. High because container supply is lacking. Why container supply is lacking? Because there's no empty container returning because of the lockdown. But the ship must move. That's the problem occurs. That the problem starts. And everything will settle down. Meaning that all the container that been backlogged for some times due to lockdown were cleared, then only it will go back to normal again. But it takes time. But if the pandemic, like the COVID, attack again, the fourth wave, and in China they are facing the fourth wave now. If it's uncontrollable and China go lockdown again, they will start again. Even not finished yet the disruption of supply chain, they will create a new disruption. That one is trouble, right? And don't know when to finish. See, you see in Los Angeles, in many ports in the world, the disruptions of supply chain occur because of congestions at the port. To clear all this thing, all the backlog of containers, right? Okay. You must remember, you have signed the contract of shipping, of carrying, carrier, the line and the shippers and the consigner, right? Consigner and the lines. They have signed contract to send the cargo. If you delay anything, you need to be charged penalty. You have signed the contract, so you must oblige with the contract. So there's many company at loss because of this. And many importers suffer losses. Some are great losses. Some affect their business, their productions, right? So these are although it's simple, but it's quite complicated. The whole disruption related to everything. Your jam here is related to the others, really others. So these are the way you should be thinking when you're working in this area. You must think relatively, not isolatedly or stereotype. You must think relatively. What you decide here will affect others. What happened here will affect others. How they affect, you must know how the link relates, right? That's the thinking as a logistician. So we'll go for import scenario. And it's scary. Before the containers, full container is picked, the container has been picked up till the time the empty container is returned to the lines nominated depot. Detention is charged after the previous. This is easy. All right. So this is import scenario. What about export scenario? Export has different, most like the same focus, but different setting in terms of consignor and consignee. Lines normally give about 5 free days within which the shipper has to pick up the empty container, pack it, and return it to the pull to the port. For export is different. It's a line that you agree to take this line for the mobilize of your cargo. They like you the container, empty container at this location, and then pack it up, full, and then return it back to the point that they ask you to return, usually to the nearest port, the port that they will be the port of calls for them, the port of call. In case of delay, more than 5 days, the line charge detention. Generally same tariff as import detentions. Okay. If you delay sending the containers, when you agreed upon, you sign contract, they will give you 5 days to take an empty container from the location they ask you to take, and then pack it up, full it, and then send it to the port, right? Before 5 days, within 5 days. But when you delay in sending the sending the cargo, the container to the port, they will for the days that they with the client. Initially, it's right. Initially, it's empty because you must pick up the container and. But what happened is that something circumstances happen. You may be late in terms of securing the empty container from the place they ask you to take. You late. They will charge a full pack container to the port. You late both ways. Either you late because the late either the container is full pack, but you late to send it to the port, they will charge detention also. So there are two scenario here. Late, either is empty or not, or full, they will charge you. Because initially you want to export it, right? You need a container. So they ask you to take the container from certain locations and pack it up. Okay, you take the containers within 5 days, and you're packing it up. But you're packing it up is late, more than 5 days. You don't fit the 5 days. You take the full container to the port on the 7 days. You will charge 2 days detention. Right. If the container is not yet packing, then you'll be charged based on how many days you will send the full packing of container to the port. Let's say you take 1 week, you take 10 days, so another 5 days detention. These are detentions for export. Why detention? Because initially you take empty container from them, right? Then you packing and you send to the port. If you late sending, either because of late packing, then they will charge you detentions. That's why they say either empty or full. You later than the date, they will charge you detention because assumption is empty container. Initial container from the line is empty. You take, right? That's the detention. That is the scenario of detention. Right? Once the container is packed and say, for example, the shipper is unable to ship the container due to any reason, then the leverage will be charged at the rate fixed by the line till the full container is shipped out. This one is demurrage. Once the full packing container has been full, but you still delay in terms of sending to the port, that the delay part will be charged the demurrage. Empty container delay will touch detention, but once you pack it up and full up and then send it to port and delay the times free time provided, then it will be charged demurrage. The 3 days for demurrage is different than 3 days for the one is full, they give you days to submit to the port. Once it's exceed and one is full and you fail to submit to deliver the full container to the port within the stated days, they will charge you demurrage. So the key point here, demurrage is full load, either import or export. Detention is empty container, either import or export. Okay, any questions? Do you understand? All right. Any question? So the key point you must remember when you talk about demurrage is full load container. Without detention is empty container. Either import or export, both are the same. But for import, it begins from the carrier, right? And the carrier unload the full container to the port, and you must clear the container from the port within the 3 days. 3 days of the port, 3 days of the line, provided to you. Once you exceed 3 days, they charge you demurrage. Once you exceed the free port days, you will charge the space used for holding the container at the port. Then you bring the container, the full loaded laden container ni full container lah. Laden container to the warehouse. You clear everything inside. You unpacking the container. So you must remember the terms. Unpacking, packing. This about unpacking is clear out everything in the container. Packing is fill the container to be laden, right? To be full, right? So once you clear all the cargo inside the container, unpacking it, you need to return the empty container to the stated point mentioned by the line, either at the port or at the depot, within stipulated time, days. Once you exceed the days, they will charge you detention. That is for import scenario. For export, you have agreed to engage with the lines to export your cargo and use the line to mobilize your cargo. The line advise you to take the empty container at certain location within 5 days, right? But you go and take, because of certain circumstances, you cannot take maybe 20 containers, you cannot take all in 5 days. You exceed the days, they will charge you detention, right? Detention, right? Within the 5 days. You exceed the 5 days, all right? And when you take the empty container from the depot to your place and you're packing up all the containers with your loads, then you need to submit ataupun you need to deliver the container to the port within a few certain days or 5 days also same. But you exceed the days. Because why? I don't know. Because some other circumstances, lori rosak ke, rebel mogok ke, ada curfew ke, ada roadblock ke, ada lockdown ke. But you dah sign agreement, contract, all these things, you exceed. You need to pay demurrage, right, to the lines. Port tak ada lah kan, because port you export, you're not keeping the container at the port, right? Maybe you keep for a while because the ship usually the ship will be there, then you move the cargo waiting outside the port, right? That's why certain you can see in certain ports the lorries are waiting outside the port, waiting for the ship to berth, then they go straight and checking on customs and then go straight to the port, go straight to the ship to move the cargo from the trailer to the ship. to save cost of storage at the port. Right? That one is for export. But when you exceed the time provided by the lines, full load, you exceed the time to submit to move the cargo to the port, you be charged demurrage. Understand now? So to understand better, demurrage is about full load container. Detention is empty container. Alright? Okay, faham lah sekarang? Any question? Puan, you understand now, eh? So that is the thing about demurrage and detention. However,
Understand.
yes. However, this thing you in this line, you need to ask the ports and the ship, the lines, about detention and demurrage clearly, because sometimes they have different meaning and different coverage, right? So that's why you need to understand. But normally it's like this, lah, right? Normally it's like this. Okay. So to understand it better is important because many exporter and importer suffer losses because of penalty. This penalty. Just imagine the rate is per container and per days. If you're talking about 20 to 100 containers, one day you late, you'll be charged 100 containers per day. Per container per day. Just amount. If let's say, usually, I'm not mistaken, I've read in Malaysia, the demurrage detention is around 700, 500 to 700 per container. Just imagine you're talking about, let's say 100 container, 700 times 100, how many? 7,000. Seven, four zeros. 70,000. Just per day. What about 3 days, 4 days, 5 days? You'll suffer losses. So very bad kan for your business operation, right? You should avoid this. Okay, that's why big movers of cargo, 100 container whatsoever, they don't go for liner, they go for charter, right? Charter is different. Charter, you have own sweet time based on your terms and conditions agreed upon with the carrier and you. So it's not like liner. Liner need to do that, detention demurrage. Why? Because they are common carrier. They cannot entertain every people punya problem, understand? If they entertain every people punya problem, I had to, please bear with me, I had to late 1 day, 2 days. Kalau satu orang, mungkin dia boleh entertain, tak charter party lah kan. Tapi kalau 100 owner, 100 importers, 24,000 containers, just imagine how many importers and exporters there. If they want to entertain all, they be crazy, in handling this thing, in dealing with this thing, and they will delay the process. That's why they provide the clause of detention and demurrage. You delay, never mind, you can delay, but you bear the cost penalty, right? So nobody want to be delayed, right? Okay. Hopefully, it will help you to understand better. Okay, we go around what do you mean by port free time of storage space. Okay, port storage charges are levied by the port for containers that have not been moved out of the port within a specific free time, port free days, as it affects the available yard space and port productivity. So these are the port free time of storage space. Okay, port pun ada insentif. Dia bagi insentif, dia bagi grace periods for the importers or exporters to clear out your containers within these few days, these 3 days, right? Usually it's 3 days at the port, 3 days or 5 days, right? And then it is overlapping, selalunya overlapping dengan the line 3 days. Dia lebih kurang lah kan, sama macam tu. Tapi you are addressing two entities. One is the port authorities, one is the liner. You just imagine if you exceed both, you need to pay both. So what is the cost? And the port free space, maybe they charge not based on container. They charge on the square feet that you incur due to the container stacking there. Square feet, right? So it's a lot lah. It's a lot. Okay. So you must. That's why you must be very efficient. That's why they need an efficient services of clearing the cargo at the port and from the ship, because time is money. That's why most ports need to have a proper infrastructure of routes linking the port to the industrial area, highways, a train services or whatever that make the process faster. Again, so these are the things. And even the process of documentation and clearance of customs, they want to make it fast so that they can minimize the penalties whatsoever that they be suffering when they are late. Understand? Just imagine if the mobility of the cargoes, the truckers from the company to the port to the ship is being delayed because of traffic jams. Just imagine what is the cost to them. Right. That's why they need a proper highways. So fast mobilization of cargo between the port to the industrial area to the hinterland. You know hinterland or not? You know what is hinterland? Any student can ask me, can answer me. What is hinterland? What is hinterland? So what is hinterland? Who knows? You all as a logisticians ataupun as a logistic students or some student that are minoring logistics and transportation, you need to know some terms that resembles that you are a student of logistics and transportation. So the terms you must be familiar with. Okay, hinterland, can you answer me? That one, okay, a port that connected with other transport infrastructure. Uh, mm, Remote area, the one Indonesia, okay, but not specifically. Remote area of a country that away from bank. What do you mean bank? Bank, ni, finance banking. Um, uh, you give me answers that it's difficult for me to answer yes or no, right? Because if I say no, it's not no all. If I answer yes, it's not yes all. See, so it's not specific, right? The land or district behind a coast or the shoreline of a river. Uh, Same also. Not sure yes or no. All right. Okay. Hinterland is about the area that surrounding the port. The radius is around 15 to 20 kilometers. Area radius from the port. Faham tak? That's hinterland. Some definition of hinterland will be more than that. Meaning that 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers. They are the level of hinterland. Remote hinterland maybe 100 kilometers. Close hinterland maybe 20 kilometers. Intermediate hinterland maybe 50 kilometers. See? So dia adanya level tu. Tapi hinterland is the surrounding land around the port. Around the port, around the airport, around the terminals, right? It can be it can be barren land. You know barren, no? Barren land atau empty land. It can be empty. It can be full of industrial area. It can be full of infrastructure. It can be full of banks or whatever infrastructure, but it can be empty also. So these are the things that need for the transporter or logistics to think about. Because if the hinterland is full of industrial area, so the demand is there, right? Usually port, there's no such thing as barren land around the port. No such thing. Usually around the port, the hinterland, the close hinterland, intermediate and remote hinterland, usually they're full of industries, full of economic activities. That makes the port more aggressive, more productivity. See, you can see that any port, busiest port in the world, the hinterland is also busy, full of industries, right? There's many, maybe they have free economic zones, no tax zone. So for incentive for industry to build their factory there, and they also like to build a factory because they can move their cargo easily to the port, easily to the airport for export activities, right? That's why Penang, those days, even nowadays, Penang is and Singapore have a big port because they have a big port and big airport because of the closeness of their port and airport to the industries, to the economic activities, right? So Singapore, the whole island is a hinterland, right? So the whole island is full of activities, of economic activities, manufacturing, productions, warehousing, everything is there. Same like Penang, same like Port Klang, right? Same like Port Kuantan. Because of the port is there, people are as a catalyst for the FDI investors to come and build their company there, their manufacturing plant there. Because easy access to export and import activities. Understand? That is the thing lah. Any question? No question. You understand? Good. So these are example of PSA, Port of Singapore Authority. The free storage period for containers as below. These are the example for the Port of Singapore. 3 days. Container type import. Empty 3 days is 2 days. This is detention. Laden 3 days. And empty 2 days. Laden 3 days. That's why different port. This is port free times. Storage period. Not the what? The free time by the lines. Not the for the liners. This is the port free storage period. Macam Singapore cepat 1-2 days, no 5 days, because as you all know, Singapore port is the most one of the most busiest port in the world, right? You just imagine if you say about Hanjin, port, the biggest container port in the world, in China, the biggest and the second largest port for container in China. You just imagine if that port, maybe it's 1 day or maybe half a day, to provide a free storage period, because the port is very busy, very active, keep coming, loading and unloading process. So they need a smaller grace period, smaller free storage period, smaller range, minimum range as compared to none less busy as port, maybe less busy port, maybe 5 days, but like Singapore 2 days, like China container port maybe 1 day. Why? Because they're busy, they're very active, and then they are very efficient. So they want to clear everything fast. So you need to deal with them fast, quickly. So like Singapore also same. Quite fast. Dia punya grace period tu quite minimum. 2 days for empty, 3 days for laden. See, refrigerated container is different. 3 days. Overheight, overweight the container, 2 days. Right? Dangerous goods, 1 day. Cannot keep long in port. Right? For export, usually same like import. What the difference is on over same. Import export pre storage period is same, right? Transshipment. So many ports handle transshipment or re-export or interport containers. Empty and laden, 9 days. This one for transshipment. You know what is transshipment? Huh? Do you know what is transshipment? Transshipment cargoes. Do you know? I will call names, to check. Now 3:30, I will check. Either you are alert or sleeping. Anish Ashikin. Anish Ashikin, are you there? Are you not there? Anish Ashikin?
Sir, are you calling me?
Anish Ashikin. No, you are bit. Anish Ashikin. Anish Ashikin. Anish Ashikin Jamaluddin. Ada? Tak ada, Anish Ashikin, second time, still so you're not there. I don't know where do you go? Where do you go, Anish? Alright. Chang Kim Yong.
Hello, yes, sir.
Okay, you're there. Good.
Mm.
So what do you mean? What do you understand by transshipment cargo?
Maybe it's unloading of cargo from one ship and then it load to another ship to complete a journey to a further destination.
Good. Have you been using? Have you been use aircraft airlines?
No.
Not yet. Oh.
Mm.
You know, in airlines you have transit, right? Transit meaning that you use one airline to go to one airport, then you change to another flight or another airline till you go to your destination. That is transit. So this is transshipment is about cargo, right? Okay, the cargo been unloaded at the port, okay, and waited to be loaded at a new carrier to go to the destination. That is transshipment, right? One carrier unload the cargo, the other carrier load the cargo back and go to the destination. Okay, transshipment process is long. Take like you observe in the slide, more days, right? Because you need to wait for the other ship to come, right? And some transshipment, they need to transform. And wait, I will explain later on. I will post some name. Badratul Syahira. Badratul Syahira ada? Ada Lau Hyuki. Lau Hyuki.
Yes, sir.
Iqbal Zaini. Iqbal Zaini ada? Iqbal Zaini, Jenny. Iqbal ni tak ada
Yes,
Iqbal
sir.
ni, Iqbal Zaini. So, during the class, if you need to go to the toilet, you raise your hand first, and tell me. Don't go and quietly go and never come back. Right? You need to raise your hand and you chat to me. I want to go to the toilet. Right? Then I know. It only takes 10 minutes to go to toilet usually. Alright? So 10 to 15 minutes lah kalau you need to do a very heavy job there. Right? 10 to 15 minutes. Kalau more than that, lepas tu pun tak ada orang, maksudnya you go somewhere else lah. Iqbal Zaini dah tak ada, Anis Asyikin dah tak ada. So I need to withdraw the attendance because you are cheating me and your parents not attending the class. Right? If you go to toilet, you need to raise your hand and tell me. Right? No except me?
Yes, sir.
SNA. Who's SNA? SNA.
Saya doktor. Saya
Siapa?
pinjam adik saya punya phone.
Awak siapa?
Siti Nur Akilah.
Asal phone awak tak pakai ke?
Tak lepas masuk Webex.
Habis attendance macam mana?
Attendance scan melalui phone saya.
Boleh pula.
Screenshot.
Attendance.
Bukan, kan guna dia punya Webex, handphone saya just scan melalui dia punya phone lah.
Pakai laptop lah, jalan laptop.
Laptop tak lepas masuk. Ni last choice. Sebab hari ni tak lepas.
Oh, kat rumah
Yes. Rumah.
Remote
sir.
area ke? Ya. Siti Nur Najihah.
Yes, sir.
Good. Aina ada Ain. Ada Ain. Ain.
Saya, sir.
Mana Ain tak nampak
Saya ada.
Tadi dia naik nama awak kan? Okay, so good. Okay lah, saya tak boleh check semua lah kan. Habis masa gitu kan. Saya check a few names lah. Tapi dalam a few name pun 2 orang sangkut So hopefully next class don't cheat yourself by joining but not attending the class. You join but not attending the class. Alright? These are the way how I check online kan. Nak buka video orang semua tak boleh sebab apa kan makan data kan. Jadi I will stop for a while and call names. No response, here you are cheating. So we will withdraw the attendance. Alright? So that's the way lah. That's the only way. No other way to do. Okay, hopefully you bear with me lah. You need to go somewhere, you just raise your hand and check there. I want to go here. I want to go toilet je lah boleh kan. Lain tak boleh lah. Nak ke shopping dan plus macam mana kan. Okay. Alright. Transshipment ni kan. Take longer days like I told just now. You need to wait the other ship to come. Right? That's why they give allowance for 9 days. But dangerous good, 3 days. Usually dangerous good, they need to request for permission from the port authorities before they want to use the port. Right? Dangerous good, you need to have prior permission from the port. You don't come to the port and then unload the cargo and then mention it is a dangerous good. No, cannot. You need to have prior permission, meaning that lebih awal. Lulusan lebih awal kena apply. Because it's dangerous good. Takut dia will affect apa-apa hal. Kalau mishap happens or unfortunate things happen, they will affect the whole port. For example, you're carrying rare earth ataupun radioactive material ataupun dangerous chemical for production, right? For processing. So you need to inform earlier to the port authorities so that they can know in advance and they can prepare ready for the precautions anything happen. So when you inform them earlier, then they can decide whether they can handle or not. If anything happen to the cargo, if not, they won't allow you. If yes, then they will they advise you can use, but limited times, very limited time, 1 day or 3 days, right? Talking about transshipment, that is the transshipment, yeah, and they transit at the port only. But transshipment also apa nama ni provide money for the port also, in terms of space, in terms of what apa nama activities of handling the cargo, they charge you, right? But other than transshipment is some cargos not only they transship, but during the transshipment they transform. That is what you call going for third party, fourth party, fifth party, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seven party logistics. They transform the cargo, meaning that they open access the cargo and process back again to be another thing, and then they move the cargo out, transport again, they export again. That is what happened in Singapore, and that is how Singapore make money, and that's made Singapore one of the richest country in the world. Singapore, you observe there's nothing in the island, right? Ada minyak, tak ada minyak. Ada hutan ni banyak kan, hutan, and then the strategic location of the island itself. So what they do is, kalau setakat jadi island a hub saja, not much they can get, right? Not much they can get from being a hub. But what about apa nama ni, the hub itself they want to be? They want to be a hub that handle transshipment, handle import export, interport, and also handle transform punya cargo. See, the cargo been transshipped in Singapore and been transformed in Singapore and been export back from Singapore, right? Then they make money because when they transship and transform, they be charged tax, right? And they will encourage manufacturing and encourage investment on production, and at the same time they will create more jobs, right? And at the same time they create more activities for the port. It can be more a significant place for all ships to go there, right? To value add the cargo. That is how Singapore make money until become the biggest, the richest, one of the richest country in the world, right? Per capita income. Sedangkan Singapore dulu is from Malaysia, right? See, these are the things that happen to the port and how important is the port to the country. And that's why in Port Klang also important. Why Port Klang is important? Because the hinterland of Port Klang is full of manufacturing plant, full of investment there, productions, right? That's why we have population in Klang, in KL, in Selangor, is higher than other countries in Malaysia because people are going there. You also one day will go there also finding works, right? Because they have many manufacturing plant. Manufacturing plant will lead to many relative thinking, relative impact, more activities in logistics, warehousing, right? Employ more workers, right? Packaging and distribution part, right? And then when the private sector increase activities, increase on the volume, whatever magnitude, they will need a government sector to support, to build more government buildings, more government institutions there, and inviting more people to come and work there. So it is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and to be a city, right? Linked with a city. So these are the things why Selangor is one of the most developed state in Malaysia because of Port Klang. And Port Klang itself initially is Port Klang. Now, Port Klang they managed by many port authorities, private sector, right? North Port, South Port, West Port, right? So all these port are private sector that manage the ports. So to cater the business, the economic activities around the hinterland, right? So these are how important is the port. Although Singapore is there, but ships still go to Port Klang because of the hinterland. The demand there is high, right? So they need to go to Port Klang for supplying for taking cargo's finished product to be delivered around the world. What happened if Port Klang exists without any hinterland development? What happened? Nobody will come to Port Klang. What for? No need, right? Might as well go straight to Singapore, right? See? So because of hinterland development, there's demand there. There's a need for the ship, the carrier to take Port Klang as a port of call, their port of call, kan? Like Singapore, right? So these are the things that you need to understand how logisticians and transporters is very important for the economic well-being of the country, right? Pre-storage period commences from the time the discharge of the container from the vessel is completed and if the pre-storage period is exceeded. So this for import containers, the free storage period commences from the time the discharge of the container from the vessel is completed and if the free storage is exceeded. So this the meaning is that the free storage period start after the container been discharged from the vessel. Tadi macam for import is demurrage kan, kalau dah lambat. Jadi free times. The consignor need to clear the container at the port. Kalau lambat dia kena demurrage. Ni dia sebab tu saya kata dia overlapping There is no overlapping because the time commence once the container been discharged from the vessel. Maksudnya container tu dia buat turun daripada kapal, letak kat port. That start the storage period, free storage period. And they overlapping dengan the free days that the line give for the consignee to clear the container at the port. So if you exceed the free storage period or you exceed also the free days for the line provided to you, you will be penalty for demurrage to the line and you must pay for the storage to the port. So double cost to you. All right. So these are the things you need to know. Store rent shall be payable for the period commencing from the time of completion of the discharge from the vessel to the time delivery of the container. Maksudnya, dia start rent tu daripada tarikh container tu been unload from the ship to the port sampai the container been picked up from the port. That is the time storage rent. After the 3 days after the 3 days. Like in Singapore is 3 days, 2 days kan. After the 2 days, you need to clear the thing. If you're late, you need to be charged for the rent. Rental for storage. Okay. Itu satu to the port. And then kalau you delay, you lambat lagi, you exceed the liner 3 days, they will pay demurrage pula. You just imagine how complex is it kalau you lambat. You need to pay the port authority, you need to pay the line. Faham tak? You need to pay maybe overtime of the drivers for opening kan. Cost. That's why business jangan main-main. Kalau you play the fool in business, you lost. You suffer loss. So in business, they mean business. That's why they say they mean business. They mean business meaning that they really go for efficiency. They really go for dollars and cents. You delay, you suffer. Jadi sebab tu orang yang deal with business, logistics and transportation ni kena ikut time. Faham tak? Jangan biasa delay. Delay is cost. Sebab tu orang maybe you don't experience yet. If you work with them, they shout at you now. Kalau you buat main-main, dia marah you, you kena punya. Because it's money. Right? Kalau tak tahan kena marah, kerja kerajaan lah. Okay? Because they do that, they need to do that. They need to be serious in business. Incur cost. For export containers, a free storage period commences from the time the container is received by the port authority and the free storage period is exceeded. So the storage period commences from the time container received by the port authority. Maksudnya nak export. So you need to send the container early. Right? So the rental was the free period is within the free days they allow. Tadi export sama macam import juga 2 days. Exceed that one, they charge storage. Okay. Store rent shall be payable for the period commencing from the time the container is received by the port authority to the time the vessel by which the container is to be exported. So within 2 days, not clear, the ship come on the 3rd days, then the exporters need to pay the storage rent to the port authorities. That's why if supply chain disruption happen, and it will incur cost. This is the cost incurred. Exporters dah letak cargo dekat port. The exporters already put their cargo container at the port because according to the contract, the carrier will be reaching the port of course within 2 days time. So the first day dia dah hantar lah barang cargo. The next day the cargo should be unloaded, should be loaded to the ship. But what happened? Disruption at the port, congestion. The ship had to be delayed at the port, and they cannot enter the port because congestions. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Who want to bear the rental? Faham tak? So who want to bear? The exporter lah want to bear. Kan? Should bear the cost. Right? So, in doing business, siapa yang nak rugi? Who want to bear the loss? If you do business, you want to bear loss or profit? You sure you want to bear profit, right? To make profit. Who want to bear loss? Then what happened? That's why the pandemic will cause many losses because of this, right? That's why people like to go for charter, because charter, the term and condition is negotiable. With the pandemic is around, so they have discounted. Take note, the occurrence of pandemic, so they can the terms and condition is more open. Nampak? So save cost lah, kan? So these are the things happen in the shipping line. Transshipment pun lebih kurang free storage period commence from the time of completion of discharge to the time of berthing of second vessel. Ni lah. That's why they need 10 days. Completing the first ship that unload the cargo, and the cargo need to be stored at the port, waiting for the next ship, second ship, to be loaded back again to the ship. So if this period of time exceeds the free storage period, FSP, store rent shall be charged at the rate and for the period exceeding FSP. Alright, so sama lah. Cuma dia melibatkan masa panjang sikit. Involve longer time because of you are waiting. You involve more than one ship to full complete the transshipment. Okay. So these are the scenario at the port, at the ICD. You know ICD or not? ICD is Inland Clearance Depot. Usually ICD exists near a port. Because the port area is saturated or is limited, they need to have a new area of stacking the containers coming in that more than what they can offer the place to storage. So they built an ICD, maybe way from the port's area, because no more land around the port, so they go in the hinterland. This ICD usually will become the usually people term this a dry port or inland port, and but initially it's ICD, Inland Clearance Depot. So they shift the container from the port to the ICD. And from the ICD, they settle everything lah. But the demurrage, detention, the storage charges are the same, applicable. No matter where is the location, as long as you involve the authority or the port, then you need to be charged lah for storage if you exceed the time. Same like detention or demurrage. Okay. Any question? Any question? Okay. All right. Regarding the technical of the I was sent today lah. Thank you for reminding me lah. I have many things to think, or clusters and projects. Lecturers need to do research, need to do journal, need to do admin work. So many things. All this online, but you need to do your work lah kan. All do online. Right? Doesn't mean online you just wait and sleep inside the house, but you need to do your work. Your KPI. That's why sometimes I forget about something, right? So you need to remind me. Keep reminding me all the time, so I can be alert lah. Right? As a human being, nobody is perfect. But once you come to the class, you must attend the class lah. Don't be that you join the class but you go somewhere else. That one is not ethical. You're cheating yourself actually and cheating your parents. All right. So Anis, Syafiqah ada lagi? Anis Syafiqah, Anis Syikin. Anis Syikin ada?
Yes, betul.
Anis Syikin mana awak?
Yes, sir.
Buka video tengok.
Nanti tak okey tadi.
Apa tak